Have you ever stopped to think if the number you're chasing is really what defines when someone gets into the game for real? Because almost everyone in the world of personal finance and investing believes the same thing. Before 250K, you're invisible. After 250K doors open, opportunities appear, and respect automatically follows. But what if it's not exactly like that? What if the so-called shark door isn't locked by a specific amount, but by something much more subtle, silent, and difficult to perceive? Most people live as if there were a very clear line in wealth building. On one side, those who haven't made it yet. On the other, those who have finally entered the world of wealth accumulation, serious investors, smart decisions, and access to opportunities that seem invisible to the rest of the market. But this comfortable view hides a truth that almost no one likes to face. There are people who reach 250K and remain on the outside, and there are people who haven't yet hit that number, but are already being observed, taken seriously, and gradually approaching another level of the game. Have you ever experienced this? That strange feeling of realizing that two people with similar net worth live completely different lives? One always seems to be behind, chasing the next gain, making the same financial mistakes, while the other progresses calmly, confidently, and with increasingly consistent decisions. This doesn't happen by chance. In the world of wealth building, the OBCAA market doesn't just react to cold numbers. It reacts to behavior, decision-making patterns, and financial maturity. And here's the point that almost no one openly discusses. The door doesn't open first with money. It opens with mindset, with discipline, with how you handle risk, patience, and emotional control. Value comes later. The problem is that many people spend years believing that simply reaching a magic number will change everything, when in reality they arrive there carrying the same habits that have always kept them trapped on the outside. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might surprise you. There's a very specific sign that shows when someone is ready to enter this other world, even before hitting 250K followers. It's not something that appears on your bank statement. It's not something you post on social media. It's silent, almost invisible, but extremely noticeable to those already inside the shark gate. Perhaps you're already giving off this signal without realizing it. Or maybe you're still repeating patterns that keep you away from this level of play, even believing you're on the right track. And it's precisely here that everything starts to change, because understanding where that door really is completely changes how you view investments, financial decisions, and the very process of wealth accumulation. And perhaps, as you listen to this, something is already falling into place within you, because this topic isn't just about money. It's about identity, about attitude, about how you see yourself within the game of wealth building. If this subject resonates with you, if at any point you thought, this perfectly describes what I'm experiencing right now, leave a comment below about what has resonated with you so far. Sometimes, putting it into words helps you see more clearly where you really are in this process, and you can be sure that other people will recognize themselves in your experience as well. If this video is making you think differently about investments, financial mindset, and the so-called shark door, liking this content is a simple yet powerful way to show that this kind of conversation needs to continue. Each like helps this message reach more people who are also trying to move beyond superficial understanding and truly grasp how long-term wealth accumulation works. Now, if you feel you want to follow this journey more closely, subscribing to the channel is almost like saying, I want to. Learn to think differently. The idea here isn't to sell shortcuts or empty promises, but to build, step by step, a more mature perspective on money, behavior, and decisions that truly make a difference over time. Your subscription strengthens this space, creates a community of like-minded people, and allows this content to continue being produced with depth and honesty. And keep this in mind, because from here on out, the conversation gets even more interesting. Everything I've shown you so far is just the surface. The real sign that someone is ready to walk through that door begins to appear in specific, almost invisible attitudes that many people ignore. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about now. There's a curious moment in this journey when a person finally reaches that number that seemed distant for years. The balance changes, the feeling changes, but internally, almost nothing transforms. And that's exactly where the fatal mistake lies for those who believe that 250K is an automatic invitation to another world. Because the value grows, but the mindset remains stuck in the same place. The way of deciding remains impulsive. The relationship with risk remains emotional. And the need to prove something to others still speaks louder than any silent strategy of building wealth. Many people reach this point thinking they can now speed everything up. A sense of urgency arises, as if the time lost before needs to be quickly compensated for. Ostentation appears, disguised as deserving. Small external signals become more important than solid decisions. The problem is that the market doesn't react to euphoria or social validation. It reacts to consistency. And when someone starts treating 250K as a trophy and not as a greater responsibility, the game turns against them without making a sound. Perhaps you've seen this firsthand. People who have amassed significant wealth but remain trapped in cycles of bad decisions. They trade process for emotional gambles. They confuse confidence with excessive risk-taking. They jump from opportunity to opportunity because they feel they can now. But behind the scenes, this behavior triggers invisible alarms. Not because someone is judging, but because patterns become clear. The market observes who respects their own capital and who treats it as fuel to prove something. The hidden truth is that numbers don't impress as much as consistent actions over time. Someone who builds wealth maturely demonstrates this in how they say no, in their patience to wait, and in the clarity with which they refuse deals they don't fully understand. On the other hand, those who believe that money solves everything begin to overexpose themselves, take unnecessary risks, and act as if they've reached a level they haven't yet internally consolidated. This difference creates a profound impact on the journey. Two equal assets, completely opposite destinies. One advances silently, almost invisibly, while the other wears itself out trying to maintain an image. And that's why so many people reach 250K and remain outside the shark gate. Not because the value is small, but because the behavior is still shallow. The market doesn't invite numbers. It observes patterns. It approaches those who demonstrate real transformation in the way they think, decide, and protect what they have already built. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject because there's a specific point where this change in mindset starts to become clear, almost palpable. That's where the game truly changes, not in the details, but in how you perceive risk, time, and decision-making. And before I continue, comment below. Does this make sense to me? Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because the true sign that someone is ready to walk through that door almost never makes a sound. It doesn't appear in screenshots. It doesn't become bar talk. It doesn't attract attention on social media. It's silent. It's internal. It's a clear change in mindset that happens before any large, visible leap in wealth. And when it happens, everything starts to organize itself in a different way. People who are truly ready to enter this next level of the game don't behave like those desperate to prove something. They start thinking in terms of survival before thinking about growth. The focus shifts from, how much can this yield? To, what could go wrong here? This seems small, but it completely changes the impact of decisions. Throughout the journey, those who have matured understand that there's no point in winning quickly if the risk of being eliminated is too high. This quiet maturity appears in the careful management of capital, in strategic patience, and in the pursuit of repeatable processes. There is no rush to double wealth. There is discipline in not destroying it. Decisions become less emotional and more rational. The person begins to respect limits, to accept that not every opportunity is for them, and that saying no is often one of the most profitable decisions someone can make. There's a hidden truth here that almost no one talks about. The market rewards those who persevere, not those who show up, not those who shout, not those who try shortcuts. Persevering requires emotional control, clarity, and a profound inner transformation. That's why those who are ready don't spend their time asking how much they can earn, but how they can reduce risks, obvious mistakes, and traps that eliminate promising players prematurely. This shift in mindset also changes how time is perceived. Immediacy loses its power. The short term ceases to be the focus of decisions. Patience stops being passive and becomes strategic. It's not about waiting for lack of options. It's about waiting because you understand the value of the right moment. This type of attitude doesn't attract the attention of the masses, but it does attract attention behind the scenes, where the truly important decisions are made. When someone reaches this point, something curious happens. Money ceases to be the main focus and becomes a consequence. the person starts to worry more about the quality of their decisions than their immediate results. And this creates a pattern that repeats itself, strengthens, and sustains growth over time. That's when many realize, almost with surprise, that the game has changed without a major event marking this turning point. Perhaps, as you listen to this, a part of you is recognizing yourself, or perhaps you're realizing exactly what still needs adjusting. This moment of clarity is powerful because it doesn't come with euphoria, it comes with responsibility. And when that switch flips, the way you see risk, opportunity, and preservation is never the same again. Comment below. I'm on this journey too. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject because when we talk about the market, there's a layer behind the scenes that almost no one consciously perceives, but which influences everything. The market doesn't work like a gate with a password, nor like a secret club that someone decides to open or close. It functions as a living system of constant observation. People, behaviors, decisions, and patterns are analyzed all the time, even when no one is watching. What makes someone start receiving better opportunities, good contacts, and more sophisticated information is not an isolated event, nor a sudden leap in wealth. It's the silent repetition of correct attitudes throughout the journey. Discipline in moments when it would be easy to overdo it. Consistency when no one is applauding. Self-control when the temptation to accelerate appears. All of this leaves traces. And these traces are read very clearly by those who already live at this other level of the game. There's a hidden truth here worth facing without romanticizing. People who act as if they're already on the inside end up being treated as such. Not because they feign status, but because they demonstrate maturity in their decisions. They ask better questions, avoid unnecessary exposure, respect processes, and understand boundaries. Over time, they begin to be seen as trustworthy. And trust is the most valuable currency behind the scenes of the market. It's not magic, nor a secret theory. It's observable behavior. Those who maintain a solid stance, even in moments of uncertainty, convey stability. Those who don't get too excited during upturns, nor despair during downturns, demonstrate emotional preparedness. Those who think about long-term impact, and not just immediate gains, show that they understand the real game. And this type of mindset naturally, almost inevitably, attracts attention. This is how invitations arise, conversations change levels, and information begins to circulate, not as a gift, but as a consequence. The market gravitates towards those who reduce risk to the system, not those who increase it. It favors those who preserve, not those who skip steps. That's why, often, someone still far from 250K already begins to access levels that others, even with more money, never reach. This dynamic completely changes the perception of the journey. You realize that it's not about getting there and then behaving differently. It's the opposite. The behavior comes first, the recognition comes later. And when that switch flips, decisions are made with a different awareness, a different weight, a different responsibility. The transformation isn't external, it's internal, but its impact spreads to everything around you. When you understand this, you begin to observe the market in a different way. You start to notice subtle signs, repeated patterns, and small choices that build something much bigger over time. And it is precisely at this point that the conversation begins to get even deeper, because acting this way changes not only what appears in your path, but also how you position yourself in relation to it. Comment below. This makes sense to me. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because understanding the right path before the door finally opens completely changes how you position yourself on this journey. The biggest mistake people make when building wealth is turning everything into a race. Running to get there quickly, running to prove something, running to reach a number that seems magical. But the real game has never been about speed. It has always been about preparation. Being prepared is very different from arriving quickly. Being prepared means aligning small and large decisions with a coherent, consistent, and sustainable mindset. It means eliminating obvious mistakes that many people normalize due to haste, anxiety, or comparison. Mistakes that don't break anyone at once, but corrode the process from within. Unnecessary expenses disguised as rewards, risks taken without real understanding, decisions made more by emotion than by clarity. All of this weighs heavily, even when the balance is still growing. There is a silent transformation that happens when someone stops acting as a spectator of their own financial life and starts thinking like a wealth builder. The spectator reacts to what appears. The builder anticipates scenarios. The spectator looks for shortcuts. The builder respects processes. This change is not theoretical. It is reflected in daily decisions, in how you deal with frustration, in how you accept waiting, in how you learn to say no without guilt. The hidden truth is that the market respects those who respect themselves first. Those who organize their own house before wanting to expand. Those who understand that preservation is a way to grow. When you start aligning your decisions with this logic, something curious happens. Risk decreases without you having to give up ambition. On the contrary, ambition becomes smarter, more strategic, more connected to the long term. This right path doesn't have immediate glamour. It happens behind the scenes, far from applause. But the impact is profound. Those who arrive this way cross the line with much less emotional strain, much less unnecessary exposure, and much more implicit respect. Not because someone officially grants it, but because behavior speaks louder than any numbers. And when that attitude solidifies, you realize that the door was never an isolated event. It's the consequence of a well-executed journey, of aligned decisions, of eliminated mistakes, of a mindset that matured before acquiring wealth. It's at this point that everything starts to fall into place more clearly, because you stop asking when the door will open and begin to realize that little by little, you are already moving in the right direction. Comment below. I'm on this journey too. If you've made it this far, it's because this conversation touched on an important point in your journey. Not everyone allows themselves to calmly reflect on decisions, mindset, and this quieter side of wealth. Building. So, if this content resonated with you, subscribing to the channel is a simple way to continue walking together through this type of reflection that almost no one does, but which changes everything when understood at the right time. If you felt this message spoke directly to you, leave a comment saying so. This message was for me. I read, I follow, and this helps keep this space alive, with increasingly deep and honest conversations about money, behavior, and choices that truly matter over time. And if at any point you felt connected to this idea of arriving prepared, of building with more awareness and less noise, leave a like as a silent signal that we're speaking the same language. This strengthens the channel and helps this type of content reach other people who are also at this stage of the journey. Now, there's a video over here that perfectly complements this topic and delves even deeper into this behind-the-scenes perspective that almost no one talks about. Click there and continue watching.